Fantastic. So are we good to go?
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Perfect.
Are we recording?
Yeah.
Great.
Great. So welcome, everybody. So we had some technical issues, but now everything is sorted. Thank you for your patience. So I'm the ITFL Learning Technology SIG coordinator, and I'm really glad to be kicking off this series of webinars that the amazing LTSIG committee has put together. So this is part of a bigger project that, apart from these webinars, includes publications, recordings, discussions, where people, I mean all of us, will be sharing advice and best practices on how to make this transition a better experience for teachers and students. So we know that some of you may be overwhelmed. Actually moving a face-to-face course online is not easy for anyone. We have been teaching online, and I'm personally quite overwhelmed with the things that I need to do now. So it's not easy to move it online overnight, because there is not enough time for preparation, students and parents may be facing more significant problems right now. So we know this situation, and we are very well aware of how you may be feeling. So as the ITFL special group, the LTSIG has been supporting teachers to integrate digital technologies and digital pedagogies in the classroom. So we are here, and we hope to help you make this transition as smooth as possible. And if you need particular help with anything, please let us know. We have our Facebook group, we have our Twitter group. Type in the chat right now. If you have any particular interest about a topic or a discussion, that we can arrange it for you. So, and please spread the word about LTSIG Fridays. So without further ado, I'm going to pass the mic to Vicky Sommel, who is going to introduce the ever amazing Jo Dale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so here we are ready to start. We're very happy to be kicking this series with Jo Dale today. And so I'm going to read Jo's amazing biodata. Jo Dale is an independent languages consultant from the UK who works with a range of organizations such as Network for Languages, ALL, the British Council, the BBC, Skype, Microsoft, and The Guardian. He was host of the TESS MFL Forum for 6 years, former SSAT Languages Lead Practitioner, a regular conference speaker and recognized expert on technology and language learning. He has spoken at conferences and run training courses in Europe, North America, South America, the Middle East, the Far East, and Australasia. He was a member of the Ministerial Steering Group on Languages for the UK Coalition Government and advised on the LinguaNet Worldwide project for the Language Company. He created ICT activities for the new Institut Français, ALL, and Network for Languages, primary French project Niveau Bleu, Blanc and Rouge courses, and was shortlisted for NACE Impact Award in 2013 too. Jo supported the Erasmus project Conflict to Cooperation with 5 European countries and is currently involved in the Supporting Schools Reform in Algeria project through the British Council. He was recently described in a Guardian article as an MFL guru and the man behind MFL Twitterati. So here with you is Jo Dale.
Thank you ever so much for that lovely introduction, Vicky. And I do apologise for the technical issues that I had earlier. I think it's just my PC is very old and it wasn't behaving as it should have been. But so what we're going to do now, for the benefit of those people watching the recording, is Vicky's very kindly shared a document with everyone, so everyone can see that it's just a Google Doc. So it's accessible via is.gd/TILT-THURS, all uppercase, and then Jo Dale, lowercase after that. So that's a Google Doc which I put together in the last week or so. And as you can see at the moment, there are 18, 19 people looking at it right now, and that's been the case for every day, I would say, since I first put it out on Twitter. So in response to the coronavirus, what I decided to do was to try and support the language teaching community as much as possible, be it teachers of foreign languages or English as a second language or foreign language. And so all of these links, more or less, are either things that I found on Twitter or on Facebook, or people have shared links with me, but it's mostly through social media. So it just proved the power of social media, I think, on how you can, particularly in times of crisis like this or times of challenge, that you can learn a great deal from the community, and also by sharing that, everybody benefits. So feel free to add this to your drive and what have you. I'm not going to give people editable access just because I want to keep updating it on a regular basis. So I've actually been adding to this every day since I first put it out there. And it's now something like 20 pages long. But what I've done is I've deliberately bookmarked it so it's nice and easy to go through. You'll see there's a link there to YouTube. So I did the first time I did this presentation was a week ago for what TILT, which stands for Technology and Language Teaching webinars. I'm delighted to see that the LTSIG are doing webinars as well, and I'm absolutely honoured to be the first person to kick off the webinar series. That's fantastic. But if you were to click on that YouTube link, not right now, you'll see an hour-long presentation, which is going to be very similar to the one I'm going to be presenting right now, and you'll be able to see what I was trying to do with my mirroring my iPad, but it's fine. We're going to do it this way, so it's not a problem at all. So you'll see there that 50 people watched it live. I think there's like 70, 80 people in the room right now, which is lovely. And if Vicky, could I ask you to scroll down a little bit to where we can see the indexes? Yeah, the table of contents, that's right. So here you can see that what I've done is I've divided the table of contents into different sections, as opposed to just having one huge document. And I worked out how to add bookmarks, which is quite a cool thing, next to each of the links, which means that if you were to tap on any of the links, they would jump straight to the appropriate part in the document. So you can see there, based on all the information that I was finding that people were sharing around dealing with the remote teaching challenge, teaching English, I've divided them into sort of getting started, which is lots and lots of articles around what do you do to get started, how do you start with remote teaching, so like the bigger picture, if you like. And then underneath that, lots of links to different language teachers who have shared other webinars that they've done or presentations that they've done. I'll go through some of these in a moment. And then for those people who've not, who've never done video conferencing in the classroom before, people have no idea where to start, some people. And so I go through the sort of the recommended tools for that based on the environment that people find themselves in different schools or in language schools or what have you. Then further on, we look at different screencasting tools, and I'll talk about that in more detail later. And then lots of other different tools that you can then use in a remote learning situation. And then, as you can see, different language resources that students can use for independent study, and independent study for teachers. And then I've put in a few podcast episodes. For those people that know me know I'm a big podcast fan. So some podcast episodes talking about the COVID-19 from teachers, so educators talking to each other about dealing with the challenge of remote teaching. Particularly, it may be the first time for lots and lots of teachers out there around the world doing this, and how that will pan out. Then some useful Twitter hashtags that you'll be able to use, which I've used myself to find interesting resources. But the one I particularly recommend for language teachers is COVID-19 WL. WL stands for World Languages. That's fantastic. And then underneath that, specific Facebook group. So if I can ask you, Vicky, to just scroll down to on the getting started one. Yeah, just scroll. Can you just wait a second? Then it's the one that I would like is preparing for a school closure. Can you see that one? Can you click on the cobis.org one, which is the third? Yeah, can you just click on that for me, please? So this is a head teacher from an international school who wrote a really interesting article. Can you just go down to the last paragraph? that's okay. Because what he's talking about there, yeah, there we are. What he's talking about there, which I think is really fascinating, I don't know if you agree with this, about the sea change that potentially could happen on teachers seeing, teachers who are not particularly into using educational technology. There might be a big sea change in their mindset about the power of using education technology because of the fact that we're all being obliged to use education technology. We have no choice about it. We're going to do remote teaching. And so as you can see there, he's sort of dividing teachers into two parts. Those people who are into technology already might feel a little bit limited by the situation that they find themselves in, whereas the teachers who were reluctant in the past to use technology, they may see the value of doing that. So if there's one thing that's going to happen, hopefully, out of this awful situation, is that moving forward, there hopefully should be a mindset change around the power of technology. Let's hope so anyway. That's lovely, Vicky. If you could just close that page for me and go back to the document. Brilliant. And then, right, so you can see underneath the remote learning example, you can see that what I've done in there is I've curated some examples of different wakelets that people have put together. Can you maybe just click on the first one for me, please, the learn.wakelet one. So if you haven't heard of Wakelet, it's an absolutely fantastic tool for, and then could you just scroll down a little bit? It's an absolutely fantastic tool. That's it, right, that's it, to create different types of content. So you can see here that it says, create a collection, add some content. So if you come across an interesting link around remote teaching, around remote learning, you can just save it into a Wakelet collection. So if you, for example, have the Chrome extension for Wakelet, or you have the app, the Wakelet app, you can simply choose the share option, choose Wakelet, and then choose which collection that you add it to. So I would really recommend that you all consider using tools like Wakelet or Flipboard in order to curate all the different links that you find, or obviously a Google Doc as well. But the nice thing about Wakelet is you can then share a collection via one link. And yeah, as you've seen there, there's 4 examples of different Wakelets that people put together. So it certainly has proved to be a popular tool for sharing links around remote teaching and learning. That's lovely. Can you close that tab for me, please, Vicky? Fantastic. Right. So if we go a little bit further down, a lot of these articles, a little bit further down, there was one that it says 47 ideas around remote teaching, if I remember correctly. But you can see there's lots of similar articles. 8 tips for international. There we are. 47 ideas to teach online. Can you click on that one for me, please? This one. Yeah. Can you click on that one? Yeah, please. This one really caught my imagination. It was created by a former assistant head teacher, now a consultant, Ross Morrison McGill, known as Teacher Toolkit online. I believe he has something like 300,000 Twitter followers now, or something like that. But he put together this really nice document. So if you're not really sure where to start, I think that's really nice. So he goes through different, as you can see, resources for pupils, different video conferencing tools. So in a way, I use this as a little bit of a template to get my head around exactly how to put together the document. And I think that's just a really, really nice sort of starting point. So I'd really encourage you to check out that particular set of links. There have been similar links that have been shared since then, but I think as a starting point, it's been fantastic. And it's been very interesting as well. In the last week, I've been literally inundated. I'm not joking when I say that. I've been inundated by language teachers saying, I want to test speaking, Joe. What's the best tool for this? I want to give audio feedback. I want to give written feedback. What's the best tool for this? So in other words, those teachers who maybe were more on the fringe, as I was saying earlier, about seeing the value of technology, are now desperately asking, and I seem to be like the go-to person in the Emma Twitterati world anyway, to be asked about this. And of course, I've been answering as much as I can, but it means I've been sort of working flat out for free to support all the teachers that need help. But and then as a result of that, I decided to start these webinars as well that I mentioned that we started last week, and and also to upload the videos that we've created from the webinars on YouTube. And to give you an idea, the one that I did last week, it's now been viewed something like 630 or 650 times, and it's an hour long. And in my experience, videos that are an hour long don't tend to get really, really high views, but that one definitely has. And then the second one that we did in the webinar series has had something like 200 views, or 250 views. So in other words, there's a real thirst and appetite out there at the moment for what tools are best to use. So that's a good starting point. Can you close that window for me, that tab now for me, please, Vicky? Lovely. Right. So and then if we if we carry on scrolling down, so these are all quite similar, but all have different text. But I thought they would be really. Can you just stop there if that's okay? Just where it says English UK, just higher up, I think English UK. Yeah. So I think these first few articles are really, really useful for giving teachers the overview and hopefully stopping them panicking too much. And because some of these have been written by head teachers, some of them have been written by assistant head teachers and what have you. Now, this article I came across, I think, through one of the hashtags. I can't remember which one it was, which you'll see at the bottom of the document. But this was really interesting that on the English UK site, which I hadn't heard about before, I found it through pure happenstance with the hashtag. There are a set of webinars there, and one of the quite a few of the people who have either spoken on the webinars, or I actually went into one of the webinars. It was with Andy Johnson, isn't it? I think from English UK, and he was talking about remote teaching. I recognise a lot of the names that I know through ITEPL, so that was really lovely. So you can watch the recordings of the webinars that have happened already, and I think there are still quite a few webinars that they're doing. So particularly for English language teaching, I would really encourage you to check those out. So that was just by searching with a hashtag, it's amazing what you can find. That's lovely. If you could close that tab for me. And if we carry on further down, that's okay. Yeah, just to there, that's perfect. Right, so as you can see, the next section is World Language Teachers Share Tips on Remote Learning. Now, there have been lots and lots of teachers out there that have shared interesting presentations and links. Can you see the one that says World Language Virtual Portfolio Template? That was one of the first. Yeah, can you click on that one for me, please? This is one of the first ones I came across. So you can see that this was done by a lady called Samara Spielberg, who does a podcast as well in the States, who's a Spanish teacher. But just by we don't have to run the slideshow, but just by going through some of those slides, you can see. This is the first indication to me how much language teachers were rising to the challenge and sharing resources with each other. So I thought that was absolutely fantastic. If you could, can you just close that tab for me again? Because the link underneath in the document, if you could just close that slideshow for me, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Can you see the
going
one that
the
says,
distance?
Yeah, that one. Can you click on that one for me, please? So this is a lady called Nicole Naditz, who is a former Spanish teacher. She's now an educational consultant. And I think this website looks very nice and very slick, but you'll see on the left-hand side, again, she's divided the different sections very nicely. So the getting started, help with G Suite, screen recording, using Zoom, and what have you. Could you just click on a couple of those and just go through? So this for language teachers, I think looks particularly good. And I know that I've met Nicole a couple of times face to face, and she's a really knowledgeable lady. So I think that's another really nice one to have a look at. Later on, I'll be talking more about sort of Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams, depending on the environment that people find themselves in. So so I'm just trying to sort of point out the sites which particularly jumped at me when doing this research. So that's lovely. Yeah, if you could close the tab for me again, if that's all right. And then we'll go back. Right, and then if you could scroll down a little bit further, there's a Facebook group. Actually, sorry, a bit higher. There's the Facebook group, Tech for World Language Teachers. That one. If you click on that one for me, can you see it says COVID-19 strategies and tech tools for teaching online? You can see the facebook.com. That one.
There. Yeah.
Yeah. Lovely. You're doing a great job, Vicky. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's okay. That's okay.
It seems I know how to scroll and click, which is good.
Yeah. Very important skill. Yeah. So here, if you just press pause but this is a really nice webinar that a lady called Rachel Lucas did, who's a Spanish teacher in the States. And again, this was one of the first webinars that I saw, which I was really inspired by. And I thought, well, we've got to do that in the UK then. So essentially all she's doing here is she's talking to her webcam, but then she then shares her screen. She's created a really nice Google Doc, which is in the Google Doc, which I've shared with you. And she just goes through the different resources. So she's organized it in a similar way to the way that Nicole organized hers and the way that I've organized mine. So it's all the same sort of questions that are coming up. You know, what's a good video conferencing tool? What are good tools for promoting languages? So this should be a really nice starting point, I think, or a comprehensive resource to give you some nice structure moving forward for how to deal with this situation. So yeah, that's about an hour long. I think I definitely would recommend checking that out as well. So if you could close that window for me, that'd be lovely.
Sorry.
That's all right. Don't worry.
Tools are misbehaving. Okay, there we are.
That's perfect. Right, and then yeah. Oh, the new media in language education one that's just underneath. That's from ECML, which is based in Graz, Austria, and that is a comprehensive directory of different tools around language learning, not necessarily directly to do with remote teaching, but I think that there'll be lots and lots of, if you could just scroll down there, European Centre for Modern Languages, you can just scroll down there, you'll find lots of nice directories for tools that you can check out. Now, I'm sure that there's lots of people in the room that maybe have heard of these tools, but there should be lots of new things there as well for you to have a look at. So you can see they've got, for example, the inventory of ICT tools and open educational resources. They've got other directory. There's one called DOTS as well, DOTS, which they've been putting together for many years. So there we are. I love the way that organisations and individual teachers have just risen to the challenge and have started sharing content. It's just absolutely brilliant. That's lovely. Yeah, if you could close that one for me, Vicky, please. And then we'll go on to, can you see where it says ACTFL?
Yeah.
So ACTFL is the American Council of Teachers of Foreign Languages. It's a huge organisation in the States. At their national conference, they get between 8,000 to 12,000 teachers, depending on where it is. And they've made, I think, all the resources free for the period of the virus. But I joined the, can you see it says online community? So I joined the online community, and every day there are different people who are asking interesting questions. But you've also got access to other content there. So again, I think lots of organisations and companies, you'll see more of that in a moment, have been very generous with sharing their resources with the language teaching community. So I think that's another really nice one to explore. So if you close that tab for me, please. And then we'll go further down. Just the one to the, so can you see it says supporting French teachers and students during school closures, that one. If you click on the top, that's it. So this is a webinar which actually ran 3 times. They used GoToWebinar as the tool for video conferencing, which only allows you to have 100 people in. And the first 2 they did were completely full, and there were people that couldn't get access to it because 100 people wanted to go. And then the one I was able to get into the third one, which had I think 80 people. Just so again, it just shows the need for information around this. These people here are sort of like some of the leading people in the States for languages and technology. So individually, they're fantastic to follow on Twitter and to check out their resources. But essentially what they did was they went through and they described different tools and gave different advice around getting started with remote learning. So again, I would really encourage you to check that out for advice. And they just basically went through different tools. Like there you go, Wakelet, for example, and described the different affordances of the different tools and how they could be used either for collecting links, for promoting speaking, either synchronously or asynchronously. Lots and lots of different resources to hopefully assuage the fears of the language teaching community. So again, I think that's absolutely fantastic. Each webinar was 2 hours long as well, and each one has been recorded, so you can watch them back. You can easily find the information on Facebook as well. So they shared the links on on those places. Yeah, so I'll talk more about that in a moment, the sort of the screencasting tools. But yeah, just a fantastic resource, and put together very, very swiftly, and delivered in a very adept way. So again, either I would check out the recording or just look at the presentation there. That's fantastic. So yeah, that's one I would definitely recommend to get started with. Lovely. Yeah, so if you could go down to now the video conferencing tools. Now, I had you know, when you start researching around the same sorts of questions. So, you know, what is the question, you know, what is the best video conferencing tool to use for remote teaching? And it seemed to me that the most popular tool that's out there is Zoom. And I've been using Zoom for quite a while now, and I think it is a fantastic tool. There are lots of aspects of Zoom which I didn't realize you could do. For example, breakout rooms, annotation on the screen. And so what I thought I would do to help language teachers was to put together all the useful links which I came across to do with, like, you know, how to get set up with Zoom, teachers sharing links on YouTube about presentations that they've done around teaching with Zoom, teaching languages with Zoom. There's a couple of webinars there as well, or sort of like, you know, group discussions from language teachers about using Zoom. And if you can scroll a bit further down there, Vicky, that's okay, you'll see that there are some, there's 4 there from Russell Stannard, and apparently, according to Phil Longwell, who I believe is in the room right now, they had like many hits, like 40,000 hits in the first week. Can you just show that picture that's there? This went down a storm on Twitter when I came across it. I think I came across it on Facebook, and I just tweeted it. So this is a way of using a second device in Zoom to have a document camera. So you can see what the person's done there is they've got their iPhone, they've just propped it up between a couple of whatever they are, tins of beans or what have you. You then connect your second device that's there into the Zoom meeting, remembering to mute the audio on your first device, the laptop in this case, because otherwise you're going to get feedback. And then literally just going old school and just writing out, in this case, you know, it could be, you know, grammar explanation or vocab or whatever it might be. And then the children can then watch that live, or you could use that as a way of making a screencast whereby you record the video while you're doing that with your voiceover, save that as a downloadable file, and then share that with the students later, be it in a Google slideshow or PowerPoint or whatever it might be. So yeah, if you've never thought about using a document camera or a visualizer, that's a nice hack for doing that within Zoom. Lovely. You could scroll a bit further down, Vicky, if that's okay. Right. So yeah, so lots of different things around Zoom. For example, the keyboard shortcuts: Alt+A to mute, unmute audio, Alt+M to mute or unmute everyone's audio. Could be very useful in a classroom situation for sure. The Cambridge.org links, those are from Carol Rainbow. I think there's 3 or 4 little videos there, just again giving some advice on how to use Zoom for teaching English, which I've not actually watched, but I'm sure, knowing Carol's the quality of Carol Rainbow's delivery, I'm sure that they're fantastic. But again, some new ideas to check out there as well. We could scroll a bit further down if that's okay, Vicky. Yeah, so that's all the stuff about Zoom. Then you've got things like Zoom for Kids, how to set up the Zoom app for students and parents, Zoom tips for educators. So lots and lots of ideas. And then another tool that people are using a lot, it seems within the remote teaching context, is Google Classroom, Google Meet, and Google Hangouts Meet. And it was interesting as well that when I gave this presentation last week, that there was an issue around, it was possible for students to mute the teacher and even apparently kick the teacher out of the meet. And then, yeah, exactly. And then Google apparently changed that. So it wasn't possible for them to do that. But it goes without saying that these tools that we're using are not actually designed particularly to be used in education, but because we're using them, we have to use them now because of the context that we find ourselves in. There are some features which maybe in that, you know, for example, with the Google Hangout Meet issue, the Google Meet issue, were not particularly helpful. So it's fantastic that Google responded very quickly and swiftly with that, so that it made it a bit more user-friendly. But as I said already, I think that Zoom seems to be the most popular. But again, for if you're looking for ideas around using Google Classroom, how to use Google Meet, all the links that I've found there have all been within the last week to help you. So so that's the Hangout Meets improvements to remote learning. That's exactly what I was just talking about, and that was done within the last few days. So that's absolutely fantastic. They did that so swiftly. And at the bottom there, it talks about how you can take a register with a Google form, which I thought was a really nice idea. I don't know in your own situations whereby you're required to take a register for each of your classes, but I thought that was a really interesting idea to use a Google form, or you could use a Microsoft form instead. And talking of Microsoft, if you could scroll a little bit further down, Vicky, please. You can see that there I've got all the lots of information around Microsoft Teams, which in a sort of, if you're in an Office 365 environment, it seems that Microsoft Teams have been, the be-all and end-all for video conferencing with your classes. So again, I put some YouTube clips in there for getting started on doing that, and then various other bits of information around use of Microsoft Teams. I don't know if anyone has had any issues around safeguarding, but that's certainly been a discussion which has happened a lot on Twitter, i.e., is it right that the students can see where the teacher lives if you've got the videos turned on, and likewise if the students can see each other's environments. So some schools, I believe, swiftly have come up with safeguarding policies around this, or some teachers demand that the children turn off their videos. But that's a huge issue, particularly amongst the more vulnerable learners that we have. And this was all done so quickly, wasn't it? Certainly in the UK, we had virtually no notice, and suddenly all the schools were closed. And so these sorts of issues have been talked about a lot on social media as well as other places. That's lovely. If you could go a little bit further down, if that's okay. So there's lots of ideas around use of Microsoft Teams. Yeah, and then under further resources, I just put in WebEx, which is not really designed, I believe, to be used in educational purposes at all. It's more like a professional tool, and I believe that if you have too many people in the room, it can easily drop out and not work as well. So yeah, it seems to be that Zoom is the most reliable, but in a Office 365 environment, certainly Microsoft Teams seems to be very, very good as well. If you could scroll a little bit further down. So here are just sort of like more tutorials and courses. So let's go on to the screencasting tools. So again, this has been fascinating, that there have been lots of teachers asking me, what are good screencasting tools that you can use in the language classroom, i.e., asynchronous resources that you can create. Because again, I don't know in your own context, but it seems to be that there's a nice mixture between sort of live presentation, i.e., as we're doing right now, I'm presenting live in real time, as opposed to the setting of different tasks, or showing students, for example, a screencast that you've made using recording audio in PowerPoint, or using some of the tools I'm going to talk about in a moment. And I would suggest that over time, there'll be less live interaction. I may be wrong about this, but that's the impression that I get. And there'll be more sort of task setting, self-marking quizzes, those sorts of things. But we'll see, who knows? So in relation to screencasting tools, it seems to be the most popular ones are either Screencast-O-Matic, Screencastify, or Loom. Loom, I think, is not as well known compared to the other ones, but it's it's my favorite, I think, out of those three. If you have a Mac, you can just use the inbuilt screen recording. And I believe in Windows 10, it's just the Windows key plus G, which allows you to record the screen as well. But my personal favorite is Loom. And you'll see further down, it says Loom Pro for free, forever for educators. So if you're an educator, you can contact Loom and ask for a free account, and you'll get unlimited recordings forever, which is, again, very, very nice. And they have a desktop version of Loom as well. And with the Pro version, you also get an annotation tool as well, which allows you to draw on the screen. In fact, we did a webinar yesterday with a language teacher who used to work for the BBC, interestingly enough, called Lisa Cook. That's LISS space COOK. And that was last night. And I've uploaded a video already onto my YouTube channel, which is JoeDale100. So that's Lisa talking for an hour about examples of how she's used screencasting and video teaching in her classroom. which she was doing way before this happened. But she shares some really nice examples of how you can do screencasts and how they can be effective. And there were some really interesting questions in the chat as well. So again, I'd encourage you to have a look at that. Yeah, if you could go a little bit further down, there's Screencast, which is very similar. Just today, I added some links to Apple Education ideas. There's the Ignite Coronavirus Special. That's a magazine which a group of Apple Distinguished Educators put together. I think that's episode 13, or sorry, issue 13. So there's lots of content that you can check out in the back catalogue. But the latest version is all about coronavirus and how you can use Apple products in order to meet the need that everyone has at the moment if you have an Apple device, which is really nice. And then further down, you can see we've got useful tools for online learning. Flipgrid has been very popular, although again there were some safeguarding issues about the children recording themselves as videos. But one piece of advice is they could either point the camera at their wall, or maybe at in fact Lisa shared an example where a child had pointed the camera at her dog and then was pretending to be the dog, talking as if she was the dog, which I thought was hilarious. Or you could use a cuddly toy or what have you. You don't have to appear on Flipgrid. And we also went over how to moderate the videos as well. So if you have a look at the video that I mentioned that Lisa did yesterday, we actually did a live demo of how to moderate videos, which is really nice. So for speaking work and for video feedback, Flipgrid is really great. And if you could go a little bit further down, if that's okay, you can see that there's things like technology facilitated oral homework for MFL, which stands for Modern Foreign Languages, SpeakPipe, which I have presented at IATEFL in the past, Quicker, which you may not have heard about, QWI-QR, which is an audio QR code resource, and they've just added some of what were premium features to the free offering during the virus pandemic. And so one of the most interesting ones, I think, is the way that you can record audio to a QR code, but you can create what are called conversations in the free version. So in other words, I could give the students a QR code, I could record a question, they could record an answer, I could then record another question, they could record the answer. So in other words, you can have it going back and forth, but only via one QR code. So again, I'd recommend having a look at that. There's I think it's fantastic. And there's a couple of tweets there of language teachers using Quicker, as it's pronounced. So again, that could be some really nice inspiration for you to have a look at. I'm not sure officially if we're going to what time we're going to finish. If we're finishing at 4 o'clock or what have you, but I'll crack on. If you could scroll a bit further down, if that's okay, because I know we started late, and apologies for that. And yeah, so again, these are different ways in which you can do presentations with audio, which again, as I said, has been something which has been coming up again and again and again through questions on Twitter. So here I've mentioned how you can add audio into PowerPoint very easily. Quite recently, they made it possible to add audio into Google Slides, which is really fantastic. And I recommended a Chrome app called Chrome MP3 Space Recorder. So that allows you to record as an MP3 file automatically. You then upload it to Google Drive, which is what you have to do for this to work. And then in Google Slides, you click the Insert menu and you click Insert Audio. That will take you to Google Drive, and then you insert the audio from there. So it's a little bit more complicated. You can't record directly within Google Slides as you can with PowerPoint. But if you're in a Google environment, it's a really nice way of adding audio into a Google Slides presentation, which could obviously be used for speaking or for audio feedback. So there's some links there as well about like a YouTube clip, for example, showing you how you can use audio within Google Slides. But if you just go on YouTube and do a search for audio and Google Slides, you'll find lots of examples. Yeah, if you could scroll a bit further down, if that's okay. Brilliant. And then here, there are lots of companies that have decided to make their resources either completely free for a while, or certainly some of the features for free. So you'll see, for example, here you've got This Is Language, which I'm not sure how many people have heard of. I presume there's an English version in that, but that's quite an expensive package, and they've made it completely free through the period of the pandemic. So if you're looking for sort of conversational practice with videos, then that's really amazing. There's one called Extempore, which I've not actually checked out myself, but I believe is designed for speaking practice and audio feedback. And then lots of other ones which are well known, for example, Nearpod and Pear Deaf and things like that. So again, they have this like extended trial that you can check out in your own time. Education Perfect, which also has English resources. Again, that's an expensive package if you were to pay for it, but they've made it completely free for the period of the virus, which is very generous of them. Formative, which not maybe as many people have heard of as well, it's a nice tool which you can use for free, but there are some premium features you can check out. For example, one is a really nice one whereby you have a PDF and you can then add hotspots in that PDF, a little bit like ThingLink. And with the free version, you could do, I think it's something like 20 PDFs per month. Whereas, so in other words, you can make like an interactive worksheet if you like. But now it's, if you get the premium subscription for free, then you get that all unlocked. So that's really fantastic. And then if you could scroll a little bit further down, you've got other, I saw in the chat, there was questions about, quizzes. So you've got things like Socrative, quizzes. Also with quizzes, you can now record audio within quizzes. So you could actually do listening comprehension remotely, which I thought would be quite nice. Book Creator, which is well known, have made it possible to have an extended trial so you can get the collaborative features of Book Creator. So why not get the students to create a book creator, an ebook. They all make their own ebooks that saved automatically to your library, full of lots of multimedia content. You've got things like, the Quizlet Teacher, which you'd have to pay for normally, is free. All In, which is, again, not very well known of, I wouldn't have thought, but it's been around for a while now, and they've made their resource completely free for this period. So again, I would have a look at that. Duolingo for Schools, I just put that in there because I think that'd be a useful thing to have a look at if you haven't heard of that. That's again a free resource, but it's always been free. And there's a webinar underneath that David Shanks, who's a language consultant and language teacher in the UK, who went through how to set it up and what have you. So that's really nice. Quizlet Live, there's been lots of people tweeting about Quizlet Live in the languages classroom, which is lovely. Not so much with Mentimeter, but Mentimeter I think would work really nicely. In fact, I've used Mentimeter. I was giving a talk to the British Council when I was on the Isle of Wight, and I was speaking to a conference in Indonesia, and we did a Mentimeter live, which was really fantastic. There's another one there which isn't actually in the list, called Charlala, which is CHARLALA, CHARLALA. And that allows you to give the students a code. They all get their little canvas and they can all draw a picture. So live, I asked people in Indonesia to tell me what they did at the weekend. They all drew their pictures, and then I was able to say, oh, that's interesting. I think that means I played guitar or I watched television. So each picture was individual and personalized. And if you go to www.shalala.com/Joe, Joe, then you'll be able to create an account and get access to that straight away if you want to, which is great. So if we could go further down, I'm not sure, Vicky, can you clarify what time we're going to be finishing, just so that I know?
We have the room open, so we can go on if you can go on. So we can go on for 10 more minutes, if that's okay.
I would say 10 more minutes maximum, if that's okay. So I've got another webinar at 1:30, but I think, 10 more minutes, that's perfect. So
lovely.
Thank you. Right, there's one here, Zencaster. I don't know how many people have heard that one, but Zencaster is a podcasting tool which allows you to have two people can talk to each other via the web, but each person's audio is recorded locally. So in other words, you get a better quality audio. Now they've made the premium version free, which means if you wanted to, if you had like a group of say 5 or 6 students, they could all talk to each other. So there's no video, it's just audio, and record it at the same time. So if you want to have like a group chat about a topic, you could then do that using Zencaster. And then underneath that it says promoting BYOD podcast with Anchor. Could you just click on that link for me, please, Vicky? That one, yeah. So this is a presentation I did for the British Council at an e-twinning conference in September 2019, and it literally goes through step by step on how to use Anchor to create your own podcast. So that's always been free, but if you wanted to use that as a way of making your own podcast, why not do that now? It's a perfect opportunity to go through step by step on how to do that. So you know, and you could, for example, with the podcast, which I described in this presentation, on your homepage of the podcast, it says message or audio message. You can give the link to the students and they can all contribute to your podcast by recording their messages, which then appear in your episode builder. You can then choose which ones you want to include and in the order that you want, and then build the episode, and then and then publish it. And you can either publish it onto Anchor, or you can also push it to iTunes and Spotify and all the obvious places. And it literally goes through step by step on how to do it, which again could be a really nice project that you can all get your teeth into while we're all stuck in our own houses, as it were. So that's another idea I think which lends itself particularly nicely for speaking and listening skills. Right, that's lovely. If we could go back to the doc, that's okay. Lovely. Thank you. And then here I just put lots of links to different things which people have been recommending. There's one called Seneca Learning, which I've not actually checked out, embarrassingly. I've not checked it myself, but certainly a lot of people really like it. Seneca Learning is not only good for language learning, it's also good for CPD as well. So, for example, a bit further down, there's courses on Seneca Learning for example, dual coding, which seems to be very popular in the UK at the moment. But there's also, say, resources for exam subjects in different languages that you can have a look at as well. So I really just put like a list of nice resources that you can have a look at. And then if you go a bit further down, if that's okay, Vicky. We're getting towards the end. Oh yeah, so here's some creative things you could do: visiting different museums virtually, going to the Paris Opera and watching a performance. If you like folk music, go check out the hashtag COVID Kaylee, and there are different folk musicians playing different songs every day apparently by the hashtag. Radio blogging is a new thing which some educators who I know have started in the UK, whereby I think there's 4 involved, and they're all doing like a radio show once a week, I think it is, which you can check out, involving other teachers and students. So something which would be nice, I think, to learn more about. You could use that for a listening resource possibly. And then here, these are more resources that sort of companies or individual teachers have shared, mainly from the UK or from England, from the States. So lots of free materials there to get your teeth into. So yeah, here's some ideas around independent study. So Audible have made some of their content free. You can access that. You've got different resources for distance learning, free digital books, for example. For if you're homeschooling, there's lots of ideas there. A bit further down on activities you can do with your children. I personally have a 5-year-old, so we're finding different ways in which we can homeschool him while working ourselves. That's proving quite interesting. But lots of different resources there you can get your teeth into around lots of different areas: maths, science, geography, etc. And then we're nearly at the end now. If we go a bit further down, I've put in, independent study for teachers I mentioned. So you've got, for example, dual coding, Roads and Shine masterclass, other ideas. The podcasting, listening episodes are there. So different episodes which I come across that educators have made. And then to finish off with, you've got the Twitter hashtags. The one I'd really recommend is the COVID-19 WL, the Amicol Twitter article, which I've mentioned, Lang Chat. Obviously, there's the English specific ones as well that you can check out. And then the Facebook groups, those are particularly good for tech and languages. And the last one, the Educator Temporary School Closures for Online Learning one, that now has, I think, 120,000 members in about the last week and a half or something. So it just, again, shows how much teachers want to share ideas. And again, you've got lots of really nice Padlets that have been shared within that group. So to be very clear to everyone, if you want to access this link, it's is.gd/TILT-THURS, and then TILT-THURS is uppercase, and then followed by Joedale, Joedale, lowercase. And I really hope you found that useful. Hopefully it's given you some structure. If you're not sure where to start, and that you'll be able to use that as a starting point to help you plan not only for the in the next week or so, but hopefully make it a smoother transition, because we don't know how long this is going to last. it could be months and months and months, couldn't it? So that should be a very helpful resource that you can dip into and get some ideas, even if you're very proficient with different tools. And I'd really encourage it. Yeah, Vicky.
Yeah, can I just ask you to type the link to your Google Doc in the chat box?
Yeah.
Like everybody's kind of requesting that.
No problem.
Yes.
So I will click, yeah, here we are. So it's is.gd/tilt Thursday or Thurs and then Joe Dale like that. So I'll just press send. There we are. There we are. So you can click on that and you can have access to the resource. Thank you ever so much, everybody.
Jules.
I hope you found that useful. Feel free to connect with me as well on Twitter or send me a message on Messenger afterwards. And normally at this point I say, and if you'd like me to come to your country and do some training, that'd be lovely. But for now, if you'd like me to run a webinar for your teachers in your own country, let me know as well, because I think I'm going to be staying on the Isle of Wight for the foreseeable future. But yeah, get in touch, and I'd love to do that. And again, thanks ever so much to the LTSIG for giving me this opportunity, and I sincerely hope that you found it useful. Thank you.
It was absolutely brilliant, Joe, and we thank you again for your time and the time it took to compile this whole list, which is unbelievable. And I know Nikki has been having a look at the chat box and trying to see if there were many questions. I don't think we have much time for that, but maybe we could compile the questions and put them on the Facebook group or something like that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no problem. That's fine.
Yeah.
And apologies again for the technical issues at the beginning, but we covered everything I wanted to cover, and you did a great job, Vicky, for scrolling. Thanks ever so much.
Oh,
great!
Thank you.
Great teamwork.
I think Vicky,
yes.
I think, I don't know, unless Joe has to go, we might have some time for questions, perhaps. Do you need to go, Joe?
I can stay.
A couple of minutes. I can stay a couple of minutes, but I'm starting another one at past, so a couple of minutes I can do.
Right.
If that's okay.
Nikki,
that's fine.
Anything that has been repeated?
Elizabeth wanted to know about data protection and whether or not we can show books on screen. Joe, what could you tell us about that?
So when you say when you're saying showing books on screen, do you mean showing students' work on screen? Is that what you mean when you say data protection, or are you talking about copyright? Because there's two issues around there. You've got data protection around children's faces appearing, videos appearing, that sort of thing, and then you've also got the copyright issues around sharing, commercial resources and recording those and those sorts of things. If we're talking about sort of safeguarding data protection, which is probably the what is meant by that, I would say that refer to the organisation that you're representing, be it a language school or if you're working in a school, to find out what their policy is and make sure you adhere to that policy. That's all I can say, really. So you could obviously do things like not have the children or the learners appearing on, if they're below the age of 18, not appearing on the camera, pointing at the wall, or having an avatar instead. Yeah, I would say that there's an individual answer per institution for that. And I would check with the person who's in charge of the policy to check what the way that one should behave in that environment, so that you don't get accused of endangering anybody while you're video conferencing. That's what I would suggest.
That's great. And anything in terms of material that we're sharing in an online environment and data protection? Copyright, maybe. Well,
copyright, yeah. I would imagine there are probably lots of teachers who are terrified of having to convert their teaching online or to the challenge if they've never done this before. And probably a lot of, in fact, I know of an organisation that told me they were inundated by people updating their subscriptions, which is essentially like an interactive resource that you can use for remote learning. And I would imagine that there will be lots of examples of breach of copyright because of the fact that people probably don't know where to start if they're not very techno savvy and they just want to share their screen, and it's difficult. But obviously I need to say that you should never breach copyright, but I wouldn't be surprised if it does happen. I'm not condoning it at all, but clearly it's not something you want to do. And if you were caught doing that, you could get into trouble for obvious reasons. And so I would always recommend, for example, around, say, images, using websites like photosforclass.com. I would really recommend. So photos for class.com, which is a directory of Creative Commons images, which I think would be great. Or there's There's another website called
Pixabay.
Flat. Sorry?
At Pixabay?
Yeah, Pixabay. So Pixabay is one of the ones which Photos for Class draws from, but they're designed to be used for people under the age of 18. So I think that would be a good one to use. And then there's one called Flat Icon, FLATICON, which is really nice for icons if you want to include those within, say, PowerPoint and what have you. Respecting copyright, because it says you can use them as long as you give attribution. But what's nice about Photos for Class is the attribution is added automatically at the bottom of the page, the bottom of the image when you download it. So, like with anything, I would just check with the person who's in charge of protecting copyright and safeguarding, and make sure that you're following the policy.
ELT Pix is another one specifically created by ELT teachers for class use. Just put the link in the chat room.
Fantastic. Cool. Okay, I think I'd better make a move if that's okay. Otherwise,